Easter egg hidden inside. Well, hello. How's it going, Morgan?
Good morning. Happy Friday. I am excited to be here. Nick, how are you doing?
Well, now that we're actually on LinkedIn and we're not back routing to YouTube, I think it's a great way to start the show.
I think it's a great show. Hi, everyone. If you're here, drop a hello, drop a hi in chat, drop an emoji. I don't know if you can do GIFs in live chat, because if GIFs in live chat would be awesome.
That would be next level.
That would be totally next level. Nick, we've got a banger of a topic today.
Think we're gonna get any Twitter posts?
Oh,
Screenshot button.
The epidemic of actually, I saw this is really funny. I think it was
Will.
Nick Bennett who had commented of like what happens when you start screenshotting LinkedIn posts and putting them on Twitter. And it turns out a lot of people get really mad when you do that. But it's such an epidemic of Twitter screenshot posts of somebody, screen capping themselves and then reposting on LinkedIn. And I'm not surprised. It's an image post and it does well.
Maybe you should start threading them so you're having a conversation with yourself between accounts.
Can you post images in comments? I always forget.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So you're creating your own little MIDI thread inside your own LinkedIn post? No, that would be funny. That I don't know if that's precisely the kind of engagement strategy we're talking about today.
Well, it could be some people's go-to engagement strategy.
It's true.
So, well, if that's the case, it's going to be a good day to learn.
Well, so hi everyone. We're seeing the hellos flood into chat. Hey, Jolynn, Olivia, Gabriel, I believe Garana, Jeffrey. Thanks for being here, and everybody else who's here. In case you're new to these parts of LinkedIn, we do this every Friday. Welcome to the B2B Power Hour, our live show. So happy to have you here.
This is 9 months.
This is 9 months.
9 months.
9 months.
It's our baby.
It is. It's either due for delivery or we got a 1-year birthday coming up. So today we're going to be talking about engagement strategies that drive pipeline, that actually close deals. Because at the end of the day, and Nick, I'm sure you have felt this as well. I've certainly felt the pressure over the last 9 months to build as big of a following as possible, and you see bigger accounts where they've got 30,000, 50,000, 80,000 followers. And there's this pressure, and I think that's just because it's a social media network, and people see how many people are following you, and how much engagement you're getting on your posts, to get as many people as possible into your network, as many people as possible to see your content. And at the end of the day, that's not a guarantee that you're actually going to sell anything. That just means you have an audience. And what we've been experimenting with for the past 9 months plus is, how do you actually drive sales off of LinkedIn? And as we'll outline today, it's a little different than what you might expect. We have been doing, or on our TikTok at B2B Power Hour, I've been deconstructing some cold pitches I've been getting from events like this, or other sorts of cold connection requests. And chances are that those aren't the kinds of engagement strategies we're going to be talking about today. So, Nick, where do you want to start?
Everybody here that's in sales, there's always a push to find a new channel that is like the holy grail of booking meetings. And it's like this, everybody's looking for that instant, like, boom, all of a sudden magically people are out of nowhere booking meetings with you. And like, how do you do that? What is that magic button? This isn't a magic button. I'll be honest with you guys. That doesn't exist. But I will tell you, comments book meetings. And as a lot of you guys have said, the reason why we wanted to do this show today is the amount of people that have hit me up in the DMs and said, you guys talk about a lot of this great stuff, but go in more detail. Give us the meat and potatoes and walk us through what that actually looks like. We've focused so much on content and how to go and get those, turn it into a growth engine and get people coming inbound.
Mm-hmm.
But what the hell do you do to go outbound to go and really work those lists in a way that's not using shit automation and is also ethical, right? And
Yeah.
I see a few of you that have been in my DMs asking for this, so that's good.
Yeah.
So just so you guys know, I'm gonna go and break this up into two different layers. It's gonna be comments to invites, invites to DMs. So really what the whole point is you're gonna start with a comment to move it privately into a DM. From a DM, you're gonna book a meeting.
Mhm.
That's basically gonna be today. But I'm gonna give you all the plays that have worked really well for me and Morgan. So start tagging people because once we get started,
There
it's
ain't no
going.
stopping. This train will be leaving the station, actually, Nick, it's kind of funny. Should we tell them the dirty little secret of some of these live shows? I'll spill the beans. We don't often actually put together like deep, comprehensive agendas. Most of the time, Nick and I do really well with just some like bullet points we need to cover. But today's bullet points are rather extensive, so I'm going to say we have some ground to cover.
Yeah, people
um,
kept giving me heck. They're like, they want all of them. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay,
Okay,
let's
we
do
can do
it.
that. So let me just start with a quick story as we dive into comments. And this is my favorite story that you've had recently, Nick, but I want to tell it, which is an account executive, I believe, or an SDR was skeptical that comments actually booked meetings. And I understand when you first hear that, you're like, what? Commenting on somebody's post actually leads to to booked meetings? Really? Is that actually going to happen? And 17 minutes after starting commenting, this account executive booked a meeting with somebody at their ICP. So this stuff works.
What did he say too in the DM? He's just wow with a
Yeah.
screenshot.
Just wow. So, comments. Let's start there.
Social media is meant to be social. The best way to be social is to find the conversations that are already happening. And as you started with Morgan, it's hard if you don't have trust. It's hard if you don't have a huge audience.
Hmm.
That's okay. Some people do.
Yeah.
So the first and one of my favorite go-to comment strategies, the play that I run every day is the influencer play.
Hmm.
What the hell is the influencer play? So you go and look at who your prospects trust. Where are they going every single day to get their content fix? And what are they talking about? This takes some work and you only want to find 3 to 5, but who are those top influencers that are their main source of knowledge? You can put them into a LinkedIn lead list. You can go in if you have Chrome or any of the, you can put bookmarks and you can even write the time that they post, like Justin Welsh talks about. But the thing that you need to know is this is a consistency play.
Hmm.
That's why I say it's the one you should do every single day. And I saw that Nate's here watching on YouTube, and Nate had actually asked me this in our B2B Power Hour interview. Is this would be my go-to play that if I only had 15 minutes, I would run because showing up consistently earns trust by association. And then what you want to do is not just comment once. This is where people lose the power of this play. Is you want to go through the comments and embrace the community in the comments. Don't pitch. Please
Mm-mm.
God, don't pitch.
Mm-mm.
Join the conversation. You can go and be a little picky and you can pick people that are in your ICP and those buyer personas you normally talk to. It honestly doesn't matter. Not because what you're doing is you're building in public. All of this earns trust by association. And the more comments that you're doing, the more that it uses the algorithm to push it further than you ever could with just a post. And what it does is it has this reeling effect that people, when they like what you're saying, are going to look at your profile.
Yes.
And what happens is you're doing this over and over and over again. It's like going for coffee at your favorite place. When people keep seeing you, they may have not have talked to you the first time. I know it's like going to the gym too.
Hmm.
People like you're not part of the club.
Yeah.
You haven't showed up enough. And
Hmm.
then magically these conversations just happen because you showed up, because you've been so consistent and you're working. and they know that you're not there just to sell them something, you're there to be part of the conversation. This is the key. Now, with all of the comment strategy, I use the rule of 3. Once you hit the rule of 3 where you've had a conversation back and forth 3 times, the
In
door
the
is open to
comments.
go and send in the comments, the door is open to go and send a connection request, which
Mhm.
I'll get to all of that later.
Well, and actually, Nick, you taught me well, there's a couple little tips that I found useful, and I think we found from our experiments really work. Is if you have, let's say, a lead list of target accounts that are active on LinkedIn, the best way to find these influencers that you should participate in is just go to your lead lists profiles and see where they're engaging or what sorts of things they're commenting on. Because at the end of the day, it's still a small percentage of people who are actually commenting, right? Just by the numbers. But if you can find the influencers that a good chunk of people are actually engaging with, then striking up a conversation in the comments is really straightforward. And I saw Mara had commented, also don't open a convo with how could we collaborate? That's
Oh
still a sales
god.
pitch. So true. And especially in the comments, like this is the thing. Like ask a question, extend with an insight, add some value, tell a joke. I mean, joke in writing forms can be a little dicey. And so you maybe need to add some emojis to make sure that people understand whatever you're saying is a joke. But like, if you look at Nick's activity feed, and if you're watching this or listening to this, I'd encourage it. Look at his all activity and look at the comments that he's offering. They're not short and sweet. You know, they're not one sentence, thanks for posting, or wow, that's such a good insight kind of thing. Like he's really striking up a conversation, and that's where the magic happens.
Going short and sweet is earned.
Uh huh.
And the reason why I say it's earned is because they know your personality. Once they understand your personality, then you're adding into the mix and you're already a regular. So now it's all about honing in that relationship and keeping it going. One thing to keep in mind, I made this mistake early on, is every time is yes and. Do not go in there and correct them. Do not go in them and in there and tell them that they're wrong. If you think they're wrong, ask an intelligent question that would change their point of view so you can
Hmm.
have a conversation about it from a different angle
Hmm.
or seek to understand before being understood. So all about it's just using social psychology on your to go and power this whole process. But the thing that people don't get is they default to DM strategies or invite strategies where you're building everything one on one. The reason why I say comments book meetings is because it's in public and it spreads. So you're
Yes.
never just one on one. It could be 1 to 1,000, be 1 to more. And so if you default to this being your go-to before you go into the DMs and you go to a private chat, that means that there's private information that shouldn't be shared. That's the difference.
Hmm. Well, and even my favorite, and this happens to I think both of us all the time, where on an influencer play or even some of these other comment plays we're going to bring up, is we'll respond to an ICP's comment with a question or an additional thing, and then somebody else jumps into that conversation,
Almost
and
always.
almost all, I mean, probably 75% of the time, the person who jumps into the conversation is also our ICP, but hadn't commented originally. And that's this magic is like at a networking event, you're striking up a conversation and somebody overhears and says, I have something to add to that. And then they jump into the conversation. We're just doing it inside of comment threads. It's the same kind of behavior.
What I've noticed too, and this is really good for building customer insights and building up your knowledge base, is the top post is usually super high level or fluff.
Uh huh.
Not quite, not always, but it doesn't dive into specifics. The comments are the questions that are naturally occurring in your ISP's brain that it didn't answer. So what happens when you get into level 2, level 3 of those comment streams? People are jumping in because that was their question,
Yeah.
but the post didn't cover it because it was too niche or it was too specific. And the influencer doesn't want to get that specific because it'll lower their reach.
Hmm.
And so this is a way to post really niche content in a
without
way that it
actually
spreads.
right,
Yeah,
without actually posting really niche content. And what you're pointing to is a social listening play, which is so powerful. One of the things, and this is the second play of the day. We have our influencer play, we have a social listening play. One of the things I think so many people we talk to and work with underrate is the ability to literally scan the entire LinkedIn network and learn what's on your prospects' minds. That's what social listening is. And comments are where that happens. I mean, sometimes it's events, which we'll talk about, and sometimes it's one on one conversations, but the one on one conversations don't scale, right? Social listening can happen at scale as long as you're engaging in the communities in the content, right? Or, God, the communities in the comments. If I can speak English this
same,
morning,
same.
same, where we're learning not, and this is what's crucial, and you've taught me this, Nick, not just what people are saying, but how they're saying it. We're adopting the buyer's language. We're learning inside a niche topic that maybe we know something about, or the product or service we have to sell is about. We're learning what kinds of questions they're asking and also how they're asking and thinking about that question. Because we can produce, for example, on SEO, we can produce endless content about SEO if we're a marketing agency, or if we have a SaaS product, we can produce endless content on customer experience
Most do.
journeys. And most do, right? But what if you could take a headline or a piece of content and tailor it to a specific question that somebody or multiple somebodies in your ICP have asked in the comments inside LinkedIn? That's why this is powerful. It's because you can start to link up different pieces of your marketing and sales together, that will truly transform the ways that you're reaching your customers.
Now, the next part, as Morgan just alluded to, is diving even deeper to social listening.
Hmm.
Is all about what are the conversations people are having when they've answered why change or they're about to.
Ooh.
And so, what most people would do, and I made this mistake, is I would go in my email and I would look at what people were asking me before they closed. But what happens, most of this trying to capture demand that people do is they put themselves into a commodity sale because they're trying to capture the demand when people know why change, why now, and why you. So now they're trying to
Hmm.
go and compete with a competitor and you're going to play the price game. So forget all of that. This social listening is all about them having conversations in places that they trust with the people they trust about to change their point of view.
Hmm.
And you can do that. So, what are people talking about just before they realize that posting content is a powerful tool? What are people talking about when they realize the way that their sales training is set up isn't right? You know, one of the biggest things I hear SDRs say is, I don't know who the hell to call.
Hmm.
Like, who in these companies should I be talking to? And then what companies should I be targeting? And what do I say? And what is the best channel? How do I do that? Now, distill that down into their words. Go find it on LinkedIn. Join those comments, the conversations that are already happening.
And if you've ever had the chance to follow Chris Walker, you've heard him describe this as dark social, basically. And so to conceptual or to formalize what Nick is saying is the why change, why now, why you is a buyer's journey. So buyers have to understand why they need to change so that and that's education, that's inspiration, that's helping them understand a different worldview. Why now? It's helping them understand the pain points and the costs of the pain that they're of the status quo, right? And why you is about all the marketing, positioning, advantage, and all the rest of why you're the right choice in the competitive market. And so that is a summary, high level view of the buyer's journey. What Nick is pointing to, and I love this, and we use this a lot, is that you can listen in not on the why you piece, not on necessarily the why now piece. It is the early stage part of the buyer's journey. It is the why change. It's all of the obstacles that prevent buyers from understanding not necessarily why you're the right product, but why they should even buy anything in your industry in the first place. And all of this magic happens in the comments.
And the thing that you need to know about psychology is when you're the first to insight and you were that person that wasn't forcing stuff down their throat or trying to drag them through a sale, you were just that source of knowledge they could trust that was credible. They're not going anywhere else. If you
No, they're
look
not.
at even like demo requests,
Mhm.
The person that wins is usually the person that responds first. Well, they weren't looking for a response, and you jumped into the comments and you took them on a journey.
He said, "Oh, that's interesting. One thing I saw from this report was like 90% of buyers are looking for this. Have you seen that in your own company?" They respond, they give you an answer. "Oh, wow, that's yeah. I mean, I actually saw that the other day with this buyer I was working with. No pitch, no shadow pitch, no nothing. It is just insight. It is just value provision. It is just a conversation."
And when you get to the third one,
Uh-huh.
you are it's an invitation to switch to private
Yes.
if you want to.
Mhm. If you want to.
What's next, Morgan?
The live event play. Surprise, surprise. You're here.
And we want to thank you, everyone
Yes.
that's in the comments contributing, because you're investing in yourself and you're investing in us. So we really appreciate it.
Mhm.
But the comment play is so much bigger because, like Jeffrey's done and like a few others, is you're tagging people in here and you're inviting them in. And so what we're doing is it timestamps it so they know when to look. It allows them to go and jump in. So you could even give them criteria like, hey, listen at this point because of this. You see it on YouTube all the time as well. Just a hint, like all of this stuff can work on any platform.
Mhm.
But if you're commenting, if you're tagging people in, if you're adding your 2 cents, or if you are asking questions to dive a level deeper, you are opening yourself up to more opportunities. You're going to get educated, or you're just going to go and help people with the answers that you need. So you could even use this as a resource for yourself to answer people's questions and open a door. And so the more comments you're doing, the more value you're adding, the more that it adds up and it speeds up your pipeline down the road.
When interestingly, Nick, I did not do a live event play. I'm sure we'll talk about this in our invite to DM section, but it's the same principle where I had a conversation with somebody in the comments on an influencer, and then we had connected. And then 4 days later, I saw a really interesting post and thought of them and said, "Oh, I'm just going to send it to them, say, I thought of you when I read this and I thought you might find this useful." That's what's going on in this live event thing. Yes, you're commenting, you're showing up, and thank you for everyone being here and um, uh, participating with each other in the comments or asking questions of us. But if you're tagging in somebody else, it's not just a friend or a peer. It could be a prospect. It could be an account and say, I attended this really cool live event, tagged, hey, Nick, you should really check this out. And that's like a little interesting conversation starter, a way to engage, a way to provide value that shows you're thinking of them without necessarily ever actually, you know, sending them a pitch.
And the cool thing is, playing to social psychology and trust by association, it also adds social proof.
Oh,
Because
so
if
true.
we know you guys and we know you're good at what you do and you're tagging in a prospect and asking a question and we talk you up in the show,
Yeah.
or we answer your question and it's the same thing the way you answered it, this is a huge, huge, huge opportunity. But it also goes back to the influencer play or your
Yeah.
social listening, because when you layer these all together, they compound on each other. And this is what gets you profile views, that takes people through, that they start inviting you to do things
Hmm.
or to collaborate. Just don't blanketly ask.
Yeah.
And it all starts to build up. But yeah, these can work on every platform. And if you use these tools like the comments right now, it works.
Hmm.
So now I think it's time to go and jump into the next one, which is
Yes.
probably one of the more common but less known ones that we're going to talk about today.
Hmm. The lead list play.
What is the lead list play, Morgan?
Great question, Nick. I'm going to punt it back to you.
Take that one for $1,000.
Yeah. Yeah, where's our Jeopardy board? We need a Jeopardy board for the live show and have different dollar values. That would
And a
actually be a really
soundboard.
that would be really fun to do a soundboard and a Jeopardy show on one of these. We should do that sometime.
If anybody has any recommendations for soundboards,
Oh,
please
we'll
throw it in
take
the
them.
comments, because I
Yeah.
know Morgan J. Ingram has one, and I'm like, that is what I
That
need.
please.
That would be so much more fun. But
Agreed.
all lead list plays is using Sales Navigator to its fullest to be social,
Yes.
not just hunt.
Hmm.
And so how this works is when you build out your account lists, which I recommend doing first before you build out your lead lists, is all your account lists should be the minimum requirements to work with you. So, say for us, it might be they need to have hired or be hiring a sales enablement manager.
Hmm.
Or maybe it's that they have a certain size team, or maybe that they have there's going to or they have to be it shouldn't just be industry and size.
Mm-mm.
We talked about this in previous live shows that it's usually about somewhere between 8 to 16 filters to go and build that account list. And
Hmm.
then what you'll do is you can actually go and use, it's on the top right. I can't think of what it's called right now on Sales Nav, but you can actually sort by account lists and build
Oh,
out leads based on functions, based on spotlights, who's been posting on LinkedIn in the last 30 days. And you'll keep using more filters. The more filters you use, the more likely you're going to hit why now?
yeah.
Why are they going to change now? And did something happen that they're like, holy crap, like good enough isn't good enough anymore?
Hmm.
But most people's default option is to send a connection request. The lowest amount of trust that you have is when you go in cold.
Yep.
So this is a warm up play, and it has crazy impact on connection requests. What it
It's
took us from
insane.
30% to like just about 100% connection request acceptance.
Yeah. On blank too.
And it same thing. What you do is when you go and have your lead lists in there, you can actually go to the homepage of Sales Nav, and then on the top you can go by sort by account, sort by leads, and you can go in. There's different triggers to look for, but you can look at statuses or posts,
Hmm.
and you just go comment. And then as you comment, you hit the X so it gets rid of that update, and you just go through. And all you do is you set a timer.
Yeah.
You'll notice that some of these are really freaking hard to comment on because A, they're garbage posts that marketing wanted them just to push out, and so they shouldn't have been on social media at all. You'll see that quite a bit. And B, oh, I don't know what, you'll have to Gabriel, you'll have to let us know what part you want us to go and repeat and just let us we can go and help you out. But, and then the second part of it is that it's not relevant to what you're selling. And so this is a bit of a balance game of what is your subject matter expertise.
Yeah.
And so this is really investing in yourself to find people that are talking about the things that you know really well. And so you got to think about where can you add value into what roles? Whose jobs do you know just almost as well as they do? That you could
Hmm.
step in their shoes and let them learn from all the other people that you talk to. And this is how you start your comment strategy.
Hmm.
It's no different than posting. You're asking good questions to get them to dive a little bit deeper. You're going to go and expand. You can even help them expand on a topic, asking a question you think their customer would ask, and you help them. You're collaborating on content by getting them to dive deeper in the comments. And part of that could be, do you agree with them? Is
Yes.
this somebody that you share insight?
Hmm.
If not, this could be a really good way to go and build out those, the beginning of the lead lists.
So basically, Gabriel, just to summarize, it's creating your target accounts using a degree of filters, 8 to 16, and then uh, being able to create lead lists off of those account lists using functions, job titles, activity on LinkedIn, and again, filtering down to some percentage, and then going to the homepage of Sales Nav and using the homepage to filter by leads to find what your leads are posting without having to scroll through the feed, finding their content and finding the relevant ones to engage with. And I will say to anybody listening or watching this, if you want more help on creating your account lists or figuring out exactly how to do this, we actually did some previous live shows. You can find them on the podcast. I believe it will be episodes 56 and 44 dive
Plus
into this.
Monday, I'll be
And
diving into this specifically.
yeah, yeah. So, anyways, that was sort of the beginning of it.
And now, when you're going through and what you're doing is you're using comments as validation of shared insights, or what you're doing is qualifying by asking questions to go and better understand the org structure or better understand this person authority level. But you're not just asking it. You have to think of questions that advance the conversation but aren't salesy.
Or creepy.
Somebody's posting, yeah, like posting about an API key, and you're like, so how many people work in your division?
That's not gonna suck. That's not gonna cut it.
That's not gonna suck. Well,
No, it was a slip. That's gonna suck. That's not gonna cut it.
that's fair.
Yeah.
But this is where it takes a step deeper, and this is why it's hard. Is because you have to. It's almost like improv
Mhm.
and a yes and. So it's like yes, and how are you taking it to that next step where they're connected? It's not like crap personalization where people are like, hey Morgan, you live in Denver. I've always wanted to go to Denver, but it's probably never going to happen anyways. So I
Yeah.
sell this really amazing, 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 amazing thing that you're never probably going to want. But
And you should pay me money. Yeah,
yeah.
that's not gonna cut it.
And this is where the comment strategy really comes to life with getting super specific and strategic. Is once you start having these conversations and once you start to know about that subject matter that they're talking about and you stay in your lane. So when you're picking these lead lists, pick people that are very similar to this so you can have that conversation over and over and over. And they will cross pollinate too, because these people will go through your activity feed, especially if you're connected, and see it as well, which acts as social proof.
Mhm.
So this is all connected. If you do one on its own, especially if you just start with lead lists, you're at a severe disadvantage
Yes.
because it takes a lot of knowledge building to really go and get here and get the most value from it. And if you default to the next strategies we're about to talk about,
Mhm.
it limits your reach.
Yeah.
And it also increases the amount of time required. And most people will also go and default to automation. Please don't.
Yeah.
Just please
Please don't.
don't.
So, we have one last play on the comments that I'll just go through because this is sort of a culmination. What's going to happen is you're going to start developing trust with people. And this happens to us all the time. And actually, I know there's people in the comments today, like, hi, Lila, who we do this with all the time, where either, and I'll broaden this, either in a piece of content you're posting or on somebody else's content inside the comments, not inside the content itself if you're posting, but inside the comments, it's you tag them in. You tag in a person that you've been having a good conversation with. Now, this is not something you're going to do if you just commented on somebody once, if you just had one conversation with somebody. And again, that's sort of like, I mean, we overcomplicate this. What would happen if that happened to us in real life? We meet somebody once at a networking event and suddenly they call us and say, "Hey, I have this great opportunity for you." Like that would be weird. I mean, some of us might be open to it, but it's not going to work all of the time. Instead, it's somebody we've talked to and had a conversation with a number of times. We've gotten to know, maybe even through some of the other stuff we'll talk through, like a connection request and some DMs, where we see somebody else's piece, we go into their comments, like on an influencer play, or we have our own piece of content we're creating. And in our own comments, we tag in somebody and say, "Hey, Nick," or add our own comment and then just add a CC Nick, or have, I just
Hey,
thought, we were just talking about this the other day, Nick.
my favorite one.
That's my favorite one too, because it's like, look, I'm thinking about this. I'm thinking about you. It's social psychology. Somebody's caring about me. Somebody's paying attention to me. We were just talking about this the other day, Nick. Check this out. Or um, something more engaged, even to the influencer, like the other sorts of comments we've outlined today. So all of those together sort of can culminate in you continuing to build trust through more and more engagement just through comments and by interacting with people as if, surprise here, they were people.
The thing that I love to do is I keep notes on all my meetings. And when people have that aha moment or get really excited and lean in,
Oh yeah.
what I'll do is I'll keep that moment and I'll look at where they took it. And that'll be my post. Is I start with where they initially leaned in and I give them the spotlight on where they took it. And so my main post is just that aha moment, and then I throw them in the comments, and it's like, and you went here, and like, and give them praise or give them credit for where they took that conversation, because now it's going that level deeper. And now you've advanced that conversation 2 or 3 levels with social proof.
Yes.
How do you do that in a DM?
Right. And this brings us to where everyone starts usually
Yeah.
when talking about engagement for sales on LinkedIn, and that's connection requests. And so the reason that we spent a lot of time on the comment stuff is that that's where the actual magic sauce happens. And we've run so many experiments on this, Nick. On sending connection requests, on personalizing them, on second versus third degrees, on blanks, on
How
how to
long
make
did
it
I spend in
relevant.
LinkedIn prison this time?
So this is an area of LinkedIn we're intimately familiar with, and this is also where everyone starts. And as you can tell, think that's the wrong idea. That's not a good idea to just start with connecting, right? You want to start with commenting. Now, there's some exceptions to this, which we might address, and that's like, are they on a power line? Are they above a power line? How active are they on LinkedIn? Are they actively commenting? Yes, there's some margin cases here. There's some edge cases where some of this may change, and I accept that. But by and large, if they're active on LinkedIn and they're commenting or they're liking, start with the comments. Don't start with a connection request because it's not going to serve you well in the long run.
Yeah, it limits your reach and it makes you work harder.
Yeah.
So, where would you like to start?
Let's talk about, like, is personalizing an invite worth it?
So, I'm going to take this one from marketing, and I'm going to say it depends. And it only depends based on the ask.
Yes.
And so, I will say that if you have a good profile, if you're commenting, if you're posting, you're active, and like your profile passed the 3-second test,
Mhm.
blank requests substantially work better. A lot of people
Yep.
are going to say, well, like putting something in, takes the conversation.
Mhm.
It honestly doesn't matter. And I'll get to how to go in, like what I've done to advance the conversation that I find has worked the best as a full combination. But if you want to go and challenge me in the comments, feel free.
But honestly, Nick, I mean, we haven't first of all, blank connection requests off of a comment play are almost 100%
Very, very,
acceptance rates.
very rarely.
Yeah, do they yeah, like, would they reject it? So, the question for me always in personalizing is what is the ask? Am I trying immediately to get a meeting off of it? And as you can tell from sort of our overall methodology, that's probably not the best way to use LinkedIn in the first place. And and just to dwell here for a moment, Nick, if I can, I know we've got a lot still to cover.
We must.
Rolls his eyes. I
I'm gonna go
feel
get a coffee, guys. I'll be right back. No, just kidding.
What we're talking about, if you think of first contact, oh well, on the live stream, first contact awareness. They know who you are, they know of your company. To closed deal, there's some midpoint called qualified. Okay? And when they're qualified, they enter pipeline. And if you are going out and sending cold connection requests that are hyper personalized and you are booking meetings off of that, our estimate based on the companies we talk to is that your time to pipeline, the time from their first awareness to the time they're qualified, is going to be short, and the time to close is going to be either extremely long or non-existent. And the reason is it's all about trust. The reason is people do business with people they know, like, and trust. So what we're advocating for doesn't actually change the overall scenario here. In fact, it may accelerate it overall. We're still trying to get some data on this, but it is going to extend the time from they first get to know you to the time they become a qualified deal. However, because you're commenting, because you're having conversations, because you're providing value, because you're not pitching them off the top, the time in pipeline is really, really short, because it's almost like demand generation where they self-qualify. They figured out why change, why now, why you before they ever reach out to you. Or if there's a conversation, they figured out the why change, why now, and then they want a conversation with you to figure out why you, and that's a demo or a discovery call. And so then they become a qualified deal. So really, we're not What you will see is if you don't just send cold DMs, the time from when you know of a lead to the time they enter your pipeline is going to be a lot longer than you might be used to. But the time that they enter your pipeline to the time they become closed won,
It's
whew,
insane.
it's insanely fast.
It's a weird change, I will say.
Yes.
You
So,
you want to
anyways,
sign today? Like, you don't want
yeah,
to. No, you answered all our questions in your content.
yeah.
Oh, and I was talking to
Oh,
so and so, and they worked with you, and they liked it, and so they've already done all the research. They've already done all the social proof and got
Mhm.
referrals, and you're like, okay, I'll send the contract. Like
So
it.
this is why blank versus personalized in our book doesn't matter all that much, because the point of connection is not the point of qualification. The point of connection is just connecting with them so they see your content as you're posting, or they see your comments in the feed. That's the point of blank versus personalized not being a big deal.
Good question to answer.
Lindsay asked, will this be available after to share with our teams? Absolutely. You can find the B2B Power Hour on YouTube. This is being live streamed there right now. And we also re-release this as an audio version only on our podcast, which you can find wherever podcasts are found.
Morgan also made it really easy to find the stuff because sometimes it's annoying to go and search through events on LinkedIn. So if you just go to B2B Power Hour, there's the live events right on there, and you can
Oh,
watch.
.com, b2bpowerhour.com. Yeah.
Yeah, B2B. Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
So let's just talk about a couple different formulations of a connection request before we get into DMs.
Okay, let's do it.
My favorite is off of a comment, is a content appreciation question. And this is maybe, I think, my favorite connection request to send. Like, of all of the ones that we've ever sent, this is the one that not only gets a conversation going, but also just like feels good to send, which is when either you're having a conversation back and forth in the comments, or you've checked out their profile and you see some of their recent content. You send a connection request with a question, with an appreciation of their content. I love what you're posting. I love what you posted 3 days ago. The more specific that you can be, the better. I love what you posted 3 days ago about social selling. And then you ask a question related to that. What do you see? Do you think? I saw Justin Welsh share this. What do you think about that? Sort of like you're starting a conversation inside the connection request, and it's so natural. It's so non-pushy. It's just such a, and people love to talk about themselves. They love to answer your questions about their own content because that's what they want because they're posting on LinkedIn. And so that is a powerful connection request.
It is almost stupid how well this works. I
Mhm.
have Wharton professors that I've watched some of their YouTube or like their classes, and I've asked, I'm like, you went on this one, you went here, but you didn't dive into this. And then I asked my question, and holy crap, like they connect with you. I have cognitive scientists that have connected with me because I've read their articles, and I was like, I love like the knowledge you're bringing to this space. You didn't quite go into this level, or I have a question. Boom. And it's funny. The funny thing about this is if it's a big question that you've really taken the time to distill into something that shows that you not only read it, but you actually care, they ask for a meeting when they accept your request. It's like,
It's
what the
insane.
hell?
And usually because if you ask a really well formulated question, most people are like, I might as well just hop on a call with them to talk about this anyways.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you were expecting just to go like you just wanted to get a connection request with an executive that has a thought leadership pieces out there, but you're like, well, they have like 40,000 followers. Why the hell would they accept my request? Because
No.
nobody's doing this.
No. But
Like,
you know what they're doing? Let's talk about the competitive effect. They are literally sending them a connection request saying their pitch, or they're sending them a connection request that says, I saw you recently posted this. Would you be open for a call in the connection request to discuss our how you should pay us money, basically? Don't do those things. You're still trying in this time to pipeline scenario, you're still just trying to build trust. You're trying to demonstrate you're interested in them genuinely. You are absolutely just trying to deliver value and have good conversation and build relationships. That's the point.
Frankie's question,
Um,
tactfully, like, is it a tactical thing or is it being genuine? I always lean on genuine
yeah.
you can be tactical too because you could get to know that
Sure.
professional. If somebody knows that you care about something that they're great at and you're asking them questions, you're going to build a relationship. And
Absolutely.
when you've made these deposits and you haven't said a thing about what you do you know what normally happens? So tell me about you.
Yes.
It always comes up if you're patient. And every time you rush it, you screw it up. Because it's like, oh, that's why you went and engaged with me. Or, oh, that's why you really did this.
Mhm.
Vampire sales. I will keep bringing this up until I find a better term. By folklore, vampires weren't allowed in unless you invited them. Unless they invite you to pitch or they invite you to tell them what you do, don't.
Just don't.
Make investments, put out enough comments that people it just happens. And to Frankie's point, I'll actually get into sending articles, Frankie. It's there's a little bit of an art to it because you need to know what to send at the right time or else it's not tactical. It comes off as really cheesy, but we'll get
Mhm.
into that. The whole point of doing this is to earn trust at scale and build relationships and move the relationship forward, move that whole process forward. The thing is, if people aren't open to connecting, if people aren't open to a conversation, it's not going to happen anyways. So, this is just kind of that natural way of doing that. So,
Mhm.
next, we have one of my favorites.
Yes.
Do you want to go pain based or do you want to go customer interviews? I love both because they both work
Um,
insanely well.
let's do both of those kind of quickly. Just, I mean, let's do both of them. But we have more to
Who's telling me
cover,
what to
and it's a
do?
power
God.
hour.
Okay. So customer interviews are a really fun way to go and reach out to your existing customer base, especially if you're a new SDR, a new AE, or customer success, and you're not quite sure. CS would probably have a little more insight into this because they're dealing with customers. But if you don't know who to target, you don't know what to say or what happened, and you can't answer why change, why now, why you from the customer's words, go get a customer list. Go through whatever your CRM is. Go pull a list of just 10. Go
Mhm.
connect with the people that were listed in the deal, or at least people that are from that company. Get feedback. Ask them what they love about it, what they hate about it, what they would change about it. Ask them what they were doing before. Get a lay of the land of what was the original good enough? What
Mhm.
the hell happened that made it not good enough? And then, but use their own words. And then you can use that in your comments, in your outreach. This is part of that social listening, but very direct. And you can lead with a blank request. In these cases, because it doesn't always align with what your how your profile is set up. When you personalize the connection request, it leads to a better conversation and it manages that expectation of what the hell do you want?
Mhm.
And then this one, and if anybody doesn't already follow Jordan Crawford or Kyle Williams, sorry, Kyle, you should. Plain and simple. But why now? Why them? Why now really plays into that why change? Why now? What happened? What was that event that caused them to go, holy crap, this is an expensive, whatever we're doing right now is not working. We need to make a change now. And so, like Jordan will always talk about, like, that pain based prospecting needs to come across from what was that observation? Hey, Morgan, you guys just hired 50 people and you didn't lose one or just lost one over the last year. In the past month, you just lost 17.
Yeah.
So there's your observation. Now, because you did those customer research, right? It'll tell you why this happened. Insert insight driven question
Mhm.
to go and get them thinking about it in the way that you can have a conversation about it, or tell them what it means based on what you've learned from your customer interviews or just being the person that does this professionally. Social proof. Who else have you done it for before?
Mhm.
Relevant to them, not we worked with Walmart. Cool. Here at Align we're two people. I don't give a shit what you did with Walmart.
No kidding.
Completely irrelevant.
Yeah.
So it has to be relevant. It needs to, whether it looks like that exact company, there needs to be a lot of comparisons where they're like, oh yeah, that would be the same use case. That makes
Mhm.
sense. Like, cool.
Mhm.
And I might even go reach out to them. So be careful. And then soft call to action. Interested? Want to learn more? So,
Worth a chat? Yeah.
hey Morgan, insert that observation, that statement of insight,
Mhm.
your social proof, simple call to action. The reason why this works better than a blank request is because it's time sensitive and it manages the expectation of what do you want?
Mhm.
Why you? Why now? What do you want? Why should I care?
And just one note as we get into DMs now, that strategy works depending upon who you're going after. And the comments really help with sending that connection request, by the way. But if you are more time sensitive, if there is something where you want to shorten the time to pipeline, that sort of pain based prospecting is really going to transform the ways that you're getting deals into your pipeline. However, big however, even Mara had thrown this in chat. If you are asking people to share your business needs and challenges in your connection request, that is not pain based prospecting. If you are saying, hey, I just saw you raised a Series A, that's not pain based prospecting. Pain based would say, hey, I saw you just raised a Series A. When we worked with Aligned, when they raised their Series A, they saw or they experienced X challenge.
This, and this.
This, and this. We helped them with Y, and Y. Worth a chat? That's more pain based. And actually, that formula could probably be enhanced. That exact what I just said would be even better and more tailored. But if there is something time sensitive, that's the way to do it. Otherwise, no need to throw a spear. Build some trust.
Get in the comments. And
Get in the comments.
just think that whole like more money, more problems, as Jordan likes to call it, or like it's like walking into opening somebody's front door, sitting down at their dinner table, and saying, "Morgan,
Yeah.
what keeps you up at night?" Well, right
Yeah.
now you're gonna keep me up at night because why the hell are you in my house?
Why are you even talking
Because
to
you're
me?
throwing off their defenses. They're like, you have not earned the right to be in my house. You haven't earned the right to ask these questions. What we
Mhm.
just talked about shows that you care. It shows that you are credible, and it starts that conversation in a way that is non-threatening. That's why it works. And
Oh,
we'll continue this thread in the DMs. Let's slide
it
over there now.
Let's slide into the DMs, shall we? So, just to everyone here, we're probably going to go over time a little bit because this is where the magic happens. So, if you're able to stick with us, we'd love to have you. the The DMs are also where people mess this up, and so I just want to share a quick experience. I was thrown on an automation sequencer. I made a TikTok out of this, and I'll probably repost it to LinkedIn. Um, Last week off of a connection request. And I think the connection request was also automated. I just wanted to accept it to see what would happen. I was like, sure. And it just kept on sending me more of no value at all. It was just, would
Me,
you like to
me,
book a
me, me,
meeting? Basically,
me, 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 me,
me,
me,
me,
me,
me,
me,
me. Our
me.
company's so great. Here's what our product does. Here's how great we are. Here's why you should give us money. Do you want to book a call again and again and again and again? And finally, I was like, oh, it's an automation sequencer. I need to reply to stop it. So I did, and it was not a good conversation. Surprise, surprise. So the DMs don't have to be complicated. You're having a conversation with somebody. That's all it is.
That's
But
how that works.
it's not an email conversation, and it's also not a Zoom call. It's a text thread. You're texting with somebody. So anytime you hop into LinkedIn DMs, think about how would you text this person? That's all you're doing.
The one thing that I compare this to is what would you say in a crowded room versus what would you need to go and sneak away or go in like having a private conversation? Like, is it something you could say at a coffee shop or is it something you would want to tell your loved one in the car or somewhere that it's private because the information shouldn't be heard by everyone?
Mhm.
And please God, don't hit on people or
Oh
like
my God.
there's
It's
some
so
strange things that
unacceptable.
happen in the DMs and it's like, don't know
So
what game you're
unethical.
playing.
So unacceptable. But so Gabriel asked, would it be appropriate for me to send a connection request to you both after tuning in and say how much you valued the presentation? Absolutely, man.
I
Sounds
like it,
great to us.
Picasso.
I like it, Picasso. But you have a very disruptive method, Nick, to get people's attention and to generate a conversation. How do you do it?
LinkedIn native video is my favorite one. And there's a few people that have done this really well. And James, say what, Buckley, is probably the one that I was one of my favorites because Yes, use text abbreviations. Yes, talk like we're peers, not like you're a professional trying to sell me shit.
Yeah.
If
Talk like peers.
I'll sometimes I'll go and say, "What up, brah?" Just
Yeah.
to go and tease somebody because I'll see how they're talking or I know where they're from. And it's people like us say things like this. You've
Mhm.
got to be very careful. Sometimes it misses, but when you're doing it in a video, you get to see them. And so, like,
Mhm.
James is such a big energy and he's so much fun and he's got like so much tonality when he talks and he like pulls you in. You're like, holy crap. You got to like sit there for a moment and you're like, not only do I want to know you because you're like,
So
holy
cool.
crap, that was amazing. And yes, I want to continue this conversation, but I think we should also be friends.
Mhm.
And so one of the things that works really well is don't use Vidyard or Loom for the first video
Mm-mm.
because what I found is that people don't trust the link or they don't want to leave the feed.
It's the mystery box. They don't know what's
And
inside.
LinkedIn is also stopping it from happening now with their "Are you sure?" message. This is leading
Mhm.
you to an external source.
Yeah.
So even more reason to not. But when you go and open up, this is only available in the LinkedIn app on your phone. You go on the bottom where you can go and send a message. There'll be the plus. Go to video, point, and shoot. Tell them, summarize what you said in that conversation, what you were doing in the comments. Go and tell them anything that we talked about in the personal invite. So, like, what is that pain based trigger? What inspired you about them? What article did you read that you loved? Even show them, like, flip it to your screen and show them. You got to have something, but the whole point is to drive the conversation forward. And so, any of the stuff we're about to go through, you can use a video, it works.
Yes.
But the thing is, it's about them, not you. This is the
Right.
key. When you make it about them, and you make it so that they can respond, you've won. End of story.
And even just the other day, some CMO followed me or connected with me, and I sent him a video. I said, "Man, so good to see you. Thanks for connecting." Thanks for connecting because he was the one who had sent me the connection request. I was just scrolling through your content. I am so impressed. We're totally on the same wavelength. 3 days ago, you posted like marketing is a leadership function, not a service function. I could not agree more, man. Tell me a little bit about, and I asked a question. That was the video. It's just a conversation starter. That's all it needs to be. And it's all about them. That first video is not great to connect. Do you want to hear more about my company and why you should pay us money? That's not the place to do it.
Smile,
Yeah.
pay attention to your tone. Don't go, "Hi." Yeah, like, have fun and, like, be big, be yourself, let your personality show, don't be creepy and lurky. Like,
So funny.
so, I posted about this today. If anybody would like to see an example, just comment on my post. I think it was, video DM or DM video, and I'll send you ones you can see like how
Yeah.
I would do it. But
So good.
okay,
Um,
next.
Existing connection pain based trigger. All right. So this is when you are um, using the social listening play that we talked about previously. So you're understanding what's going on, what they're thinking about, and then you see something happened at their company that is the event or trigger that you figured out in your pain-based prospecting, which we talked about in connection requests. And all you're doing is you're sending a DM, the
Hey,
same sort of DM that we formulated previously that would sit in a connection request. Now it's somebody that you had previously connected with because you had a great conversation in the comments. You saw them in an influencer. You got to know them. Now the trigger happened. The event happened. You don't have to send a connection request because you're already connected. It's just, oh, hey, saw this happened. And you throw that same spear to them based on whatever event or trigger makes sense for the product that you're selling that you discovered, as we talked about previously.
don't put the social proof in there. Don't
No.
ask the soft call to action. Come as a colleague giving people information. Hey, I just saw that you raised a round. When we help so and so, X, Y, and Z came up. Let me know if I can help.
Mhm.
Let me know if I can provide you any guidance, or you can even make it fun. Let me know if you don't want to make my mistakes.
Yeah. That's a good one. Uh, um, Event invites.
Event invites. So if you're running a Friday show and you want to invite people to hopefully not go and sell them, like, this our own show. Ugh.
Oh gosh.
But you can actually send people invitations to come to events. And so what you're doing is like Frankie was talking about sending articles. Instead of sending articles, you can send invitations to events where they'll enjoy that conversation. It adds value to their jobs to be done, and it's something you can talk about with them later. And so, why would they want to go to that? What did you learn from your customer research that says that this event or these two people would be good people for them to listen to? It could be your own event too. The
Hmm.
key is personalize it, show that you know them. Like Sam Sales says, show me that you know me,
And
or else it just doesn't work.
And if you're hosting an event and you have recently connected with a bunch of people, I would recommend, if you have the time, to do a permission based opener. So instead of just going into the event and inviting people that you connected with in the last week and just clicking invite, 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 because that's just going to show up in their My Network thing and you're their new connection and it kind of feels kind of pitchy, salesy, like show up to our event kind of thing. I would send them a DM and say, "Hey, we're putting on this great event. Would you like an invite?" Now, that actual wording is going to be a little more extensive, but that's the concept. Would you like an invite?
Let me
And
know.
then they can say yes or no. And if they say no, it is no big deal. That actually builds trust. Why? Because you asked for permission. And if you respect their boundaries and they say no, that builds trust. So then they realize, oh, this person actually is listening to me. But if they say yes, it's also a great opportunity to get somebody to the event. So either works. Um,
Expiry and or regulation change. This is a fun one. Knowing your industry, is
mhm,
there a big change coming up? And we probably oh, all experienced this with SEO when they did an
totally.
algorithm change, and then all the emails would come out and you get spammed by about 70 of them, and you're like, ugh. But if you do it elegantly and you do it in a way, because these people you should have trust with because you've done the other stuff,
Mhm.
you've invested, right? That you're reaching out to them, hey, the pricing's about to change in the next week. I know you guys had this project, just so you know.
Yeah.
Or, but it's like a nice like deposit. You're giving value that they didn't know was there. Hey, just wanted to know, like I saw your website forms weren't updated. The next update's gonna put you offside with legal. Just wanted to let you know so you could update it.
When actually, so there's an interesting psychology under this, and this does relate to Frankie's question about articles. So an SDR had connected with me the other day. We went to the same university, and that was sort of the part of the connection request, which is cool. And I vaguely remember him. I'll be honest. So if you're listening, hi, hey Quinn. Um, but what happened was we had a conversation. I said, "What are you doing?" We talked about his company. We had some back and forth. And I said, "What do you mostly do? Are you looking for resources?" And I asked, "Are you looking for resources?" So one thing that happens on the expiry regulation change, some update in the industry, is we assume somebody wants what we have to offer. Marketing creates a blog post, and then they task their
Makes
sales
sense.
team to send out that article either on their content feeds or through the DMs. I wouldn't do that. I would create a connection. I would offer this observation. I would talk about the change in the industry and ask them, "Are you seeing that?" and strike up a conversation. Because then if they actually talk about the issue, it creates an opportunity to say, "Hey, uh, super after a couple back and forth, really interesting. Actually, we put together something that might help you. Would you like a link?" Again, permission based opener. And 80% of the time they'll say yes. And if they say no, then you respect their boundaries and you say, no, no big deal. It's MBD. Same thing with this SDR. Would you like resources? Yeah, I'm actually kind of looking for help in these areas. And then I shared that.
And
It's all about trust. It is all about not spamming them, things that you assume that they need.
I get this all the time where people will send me just an article, and I've been so guilty of this. Holy
Uh,
shit.
Totally. Oh, yeah.
But
Just to say. Just to say. Yep. Uh-huh.
very, very guilty of this. But what you could even do, like using our live show for an example, is give them the TLDR.
Mhm.
Explain to them why. What did you
Yeah.
love about it? What were your three biggest takeaways that gives them like the Coles notes and then says, no, here's the article or here's the link, here's the article, whatever, if you want to read more. Do the work for them. the thing is, what's really nice is you can go and compliment, like, can you go and saw you had a conversation with them and they were talking about wanting to learn more about demos or wanting to learn more about discovery, as a lot of the reps here that I talk to do. As I find really good podcast episodes, as I see really good articles or explainers, I send them to them as like, I love this, this, and this about it. Let me know what you think. Or was that helpful?
Mhm.
And so you're making a deposit, you're giving them content, it's advancing your conversation, earning trust, and you can reuse that because you're writing those Coles notes regardless. It
Totally.
also allows you to go and double dip on the investment you made in yourself.
Before we go to our last two for today and then close out with a fun little thing for you all, we've had a couple questions about expanding on using native LinkedIn video. So I just want to explain technically, and then Nick, you can talk a little bit more about using it. Um, Basically, the way that I use it is I pull up my phone and it's inside the DMs, inside with a person that I just connected with. On Android, I think it's the plus, and on Apple, I think it's the little attachment symbol on the bottom. And you have a number of options. You could send a photo, you could send a GIF or whatever, and it's you're using the actual video, like send a video. So you're not sending a link to a video, you're not pre-recording something in Loom or in Vidyard or whatever, and then sending it to them. You're actually using it inside the app, and then you're recording the message that Nick had talked about. So here he's plus, and then he has some options and
Video.
takes a video, and then he can record the video, and then it sends directly in the DMs. And people can watch that whether or not they're on their phone or their desktop, but it sends natively inside the DMs. Did you want to add anything about like using it, Nick?
My go-to is to say something that inspires you, something that surprised you, or something you would like to go and dive deeper into. And please God, don't make it about you.
Oh my gosh, no.
So like the content appreciation is one of my favorites. Hey, I saw that you had this post, and I'm like, holy crap, it was exactly what I wanted to learn about. But in my application, I was looking at this. Could you go in a little more detail in here? Or could we have what do you think about this? Or you look at their profile and you're like, holy crap, you worked at some crazy places
Hmm.
and now you're here. What was that like?
And
How
it's
did
just
that happen?
it's just 30 seconds. It's
15 to
yeah,
60 seconds,
it's
no
it's a
more.
TikTok. it's,
Yeah.
it's a TikTok basically. You're not elaborating or pontificating or trying to coach and educate it all in one video. It's a conversation starter.
Yeah. And don't just say thanks for connecting.
Mm-mm.
It's a conversation starter. So start the conversation
Mhm.
about them. That's the only thing you got to know. Start a conversation about them, and you can go and just be genuine. It always pays off.
Always.
Okay. What's next?
Closed lost interview. One of the best opportunities to send a DM.
So what you do is you just go and keep all the deals that you lost, and every once in a while, every quarter, every like once a year, go back to all those people. If you're not already connected,
Mhm.
connect with them. If you're already connected with them, to say, hey, I'm at that time of the year or that time of the quarter or whatever it was. Be honest that we reflect on what we did wrong. Could we go and sit down for 15 or 30 minutes, ask a couple questions for my personal improvement?
Mhm.
Something around those lines where you're asking for advice. Hey, I know I dropped the ball, but I don't quite know where.
Yeah.
And right now I'm doing a round to go and get some feedback so that I can start the quarter stronger. Would it be okay if we met so I could ask you some questions about the interaction to go and improve?
And the
Do
reason
not
those
try and sell.
No, God. Oh my God. Do not try and sell. The reason those questions work are the same reasons asking for a mentor works. People love to feel valuable and seen. We all do. I do, right? I love it when people ask me those kinds of questions because in my mind, it's like, sure, I'll take 15 minutes out and talk to you a little bit, help you out. And the deal is every once in a while you'll find somebody who says no, they're not interested, and that's fine. Leave them be, No need to push it. They're just not interested. But a lot of people will say, "Yeah, sure, I have 15 minutes. I'd love to I'd be happy to talk you through what we saw."
As long as you are honest and you're genuine, you can even use a video to do this to go and communicate it with full emotion. People love to help. So
Mhm.
as long as they think that it's for the greater good and you're respecting them,
Yep.
Rarely do they say no. Okay.
Last one for DMs. One of our favorites,
The
a
content collab.
content collaboration. Oh, so there's obviously it helps when, let's say, like for us, we have a live show or we have a podcast, and it's sort of like a seamless ask for us. But for those of you who don't just have a podcast or a webinar or anything else on the horizon, the sort of base level is to talk to them about like co-creating content. And this happens after you have a lot of trust. This is not top of funnel, somebody you found in an influencer play. It's not somebody you just connected with. It's somebody who you actually have some trust with and who you've interacted with, and say, hey, I know we love our content together. Would you be open to creating some stuff together? Uh, that ask is a lot easier when you have something to funnel them into, like a webinar or like an event. So, in my estimation, I would focus on those key defined opportunities to ask somebody to come collaborate on content with you. If it's undefined, a confused mind always says no.
Yeah, you
So
got to default to specific
you
every time.
have to tell them what you want. If you just say, "Hey, I'd like to collaborate on some content with you," people will be like, "Okay, what do you want? Like, what does
I
that
will
even
tell you
mean?"
this, even with people that trust you,
Yeah,
this conversation
truly.
is awkward.
Super awkward if you don't
So
have a
sorry.
specific ask.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah. But it's like, hey, it's the difference between the non-specific. Would you like to collaborate some content? And hey, in 3 weeks' time, we're hosting this webinar, and I'd love for you to participate in it because your content and your insight about our industry is so valuable to me. Would you be interested? That's the difference. And this one is much easier to say yes to, the specific one, than the non-specific one.
When you lead with something that's specific, like, hey, I saw this article that you wrote. We're doing a live show on that, but I would love your point of view because you came at it from a different angle and it would add a lot of value to our audience. Boom. And I will flip this for the people that would love to be on our podcast. Hey,
Yes.
I would love to I love being a guest on your podcast. Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. Oh
Everybody
my
loves to
God.
be a guest on the podcast,
And we get
but
8 to 10 of those a week,
if not more.
if not
And
more.
so a lot of these people that have podcasts, that have live shows, that do regular webinars, post fun content, get hit on a lot to go and do this stuff. But it's like, hey, I'd love to go do something with you. Cool. So do the 7,000 other people that I've talked to. So you got to get specific and you're like, hey, I know your audience, you've done a lot of this area, but you haven't done anything here. I think it would work. It would be a great piece for us to collaborate on because you don't have anything on it yet.
Mhm.
Or, hey, I love this one article. I know it performed really well, but I think there's an opportunity for us to go a level deeper and answer this question because I've seen it in the comments and I haven't found anybody that's answered it.
Mhm.
You're taking the work out of it. When you push people in your comments, in your invites, in your DMs to work, you haven't earned the right to give them a job. This is the biggest thing is when you add work, people will be reluctant to want to help. And so when you're saying, "Hey, I'd like to be a guest. What would you like to interview me on?" My answer is usually nothing.
Yeah.
Because it's hard. It's hard to go and find time when you're running discovery meetings and you're doing demos and you're building proposals and all this other stuff and you're doing your own outreach to go and do a research project into someone to put a spotlight on them.
Mhm.
So we have to put the other person first, whether we have our own piece of content or they do, that we're giving them direction. Because what I found is they don't usually say no. What they say is, I wasn't actually thinking about that, but this was top of mind. What do you think about that? They continue the conversation because what they're used to doing is spitballing and doing this big brainstorm, and it's a yes and because they know that's the nature of the beast.
Yep. Couldn't have said it better myself. So, if you're interested in working on this for your own sales process, all of these engagement strategies, we host a Monday night workshop. It's in Zoom. It's at 5 p.m. Mountain Time. And if you're interested in attending that, we'd love to have you. So shoot myself or Nick a DM, connect with us if we're not connected already. We'd love to invite you in and get you into our Monday night call because this upcoming Monday, we're going to be working on all of these things for yourself.
Sales nav. We're going to
Sales
go into
nav
your
is
sales deep dive to
sales
sales
nav.
nav, and I'll be using a screen share to go and show you guys.
Yep. So, lightning round summary for everyone who's here with us. Thank you for your time today. I know we're close to the end, but what we covered in the comments: an influencer play, a social listening play, a live event play, a lead list play inside Sales Nav, and a content feature play, either tagging them in the comments of your own content or in others. For connection requests, doing blank ones where it makes sense, pain based triggers where it makes sense, with content appreciation questions or asking for a customer interview. And then inside the DMs, disrupt the conversation with a native video. Use a pain-based trigger, but instead of the soft CTA, just offer that observation and start the conversation. Send an event invite, talk about a change in the industry, do a closed loss interview, or what we just concluded with, ask for a content collab. Those are all of the ways you can maximize engagement. Well, some of the ways that you can maximize engagement for sales on LinkedIn. There's obviously so much more that you can do with this incredible platform, but these are certainly high leverage opportunities if you're not using them already.
Amen.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us this Friday. This has been the B2B Power Hour. And yeah, happy selling.
See you in the comments.
See you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.